Welcome back. I thought you were going to say it. But yeah, hi, welcome back.
Today, it almost didn't happen.
Yeah, it almost didn't happen. So if you saw the Instagram post where I was like, oh, wait, like, watch out, maybe something will go up. It's coming up. We're doing it. It's literally 10:36 in the morning. So
It's okay.
We're good. You know?
Nice early morning podcast.
Yeah.
Helps your day. We also got ambiance today. Some succulents.
Oh, true. She brought out her two dead, dying succulents right here in front of me.
Yeah. It'll boost our morale.
So, do you have your thing planned or no?
I just wanted to talk about a few general things.
Okay.
Jenna Marbles' new video.
Oh my god.
Stellar.
I
want fake chronicles now. I think I'm gonna go get like henna and like do that shit.
I want to do that. I really want to do it, but like I'm scared that like I'm gonna get the wrong one and like the other thing's gonna happen. Where
yeah,
I
but
turn
you
red.
like test it on your fingers or whatever.
Your wrist.
Your wrist. I pointed to my wrist and said fingers.
Yeah, I love
I
that.
think I'm dyslexic. What else? I had another thing that I wanted to mention, but I forgot. I'll remember it eventually.
You sure about that?
I'm really not.
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna happen. Ooh. Never mind.
Okay.
I just had a stroke a little bit.
I love that. Okay.
But right now we're gonna get into we're gonna get into murder cases.
Yeah. So
or not.
Something. It's not a murder case. It's like a documentary on Netflix, not a series. It's a documentary on Netflix. It's like an hour and a half long, and it's called Abducted in Plain Sight. I don't know if anyone's seen it, but literally, I'm just here to tell the story because I'm apparently a decent storyteller. Don't know how great that is, but I'm going to tell it, and then we're going to get our final thoughts, and we're going to kind of explain it. So we're going to get right into it because it is quite long, and a lot actually happens, and like, this is the thing you were trying not to listen to, and I was telling Joe, and Joe was like freaking out. Yeah, we have a friend named Joe. We love Joe. Hi, Joe, if you're listening.
Probably not.
Nope, because he doesn't care. It's fine. So it all started, this is all taking place in the 1970s, right?
Right.
So this is when, like, homosexuality was, like, such a no-no, like, that ain't it.
I, too, am homophobic, so.
Got it. I love that for you. And then that's when, like, the aliens, where there was, like, so many UFO sightings that people were like, oh my god, it's aliens.
They're all smoking so much weed, man.
Yeah, probably. And this is, like, you know. So there's this couple named Marianne and Bobby, and they have 3 kids, Jan, Karen, and Susan. But the main person we're going to be talking about is Jan, their daughter Jan. And so Marianne works at the church. They all live in Idaho, by the way. So she works at the church in Idaho, in their town, and she sees a new family. She sees a couple, and she's like, oh, I've never seen them before. I'm going to go introduce myself. So it turns out that this man's name is also Bobby, but for the story purposes, we're going to call him B, because that's what they called him.
Right.
So she goes up and she introduces herself, and she's like, oh my god, like, I have to tell my husband Bobby about you, like, we can get along, like, whatever. So she goes and tells her husband, like, oh my god, these people are so nice, they're new to the church, you know, I think you'd get along with, with B really well, and, you know, Gail, his wife, seems like, you know, a really good fit for me, she's a little quiet, but I think we could be friends. Right. So that starts everything, right? So they become very, very good friends, right? So B and Bobby talk about business. B gave them a fruit basket like a week after meeting and was like, oh my god, like, thank you so much, like, we're so excited. So
I'm
like,
a big fan of fruit. Putting in my 2 cents.
I love that. So then Gail and Marianne are really good friends, and then all the kids get along, so everyone had like a best friend in the family. So this is when things start getting a little, you know, weird. So B had this weird fascination with Jan, who was the oldest daughter of Bobby and Marianne. She was 12, right?
And he is
40-something.
Too old.
Yes.
Essentially.
Yeah.
All right.
So he had this, like, fascination with her. That's how they put it in the documentary. Like, this, he would take pictures of her, which didn't seem weird at the time, because, you know, your family friends, you want to have pictures and whatever, but they were only of her.
Good.
Yeah, and so, and they actually had the girl, or like the woman, they actually had Jan on the thing. She like didn't end up dying or whatever. So she says, like, he called her a bunch of names, but the one that she remembered the most is Dolly.
Oh,
So
good.
he would call her Dolly all the time, like his Dolly Jan. Honestly, makes me want to gag, but you know what?
Oh,
Whatever.
gross.
So everything's kind of out of order. I'm doing this the way the Netflix series did it. So like if I like jump back and forth, my apologies, because that's how the notes are written. Yeah, I have like a whole page of notes. So basically, they spend all this time together. They get really close. The moms are close, the dads are close, the kids are really close. Jan and B are really oddly, grossly close, whatever. So B comes over and he goes, "Oh, hey, Marianne, can I take Jan horseback riding? Like I just want to go. Like, I really want to take her." So Jan's like, "Please, mom, please let me go. I want to go. Like, can I please go?" And Marianne's like, "No, listen, you have school the next morning and you also have piano lessons. Like, that's not a good idea." So then B goes, "Oh, I'll just pick her up from piano lessons. It's no big deal." And Jan's like, "Please, like, let me go, mom. I promise I'll be home, whatever." And then Marianne goes, "Fine, you can go, but you just have to be home before your father gets home, before dinner." And she's like, "Okay, yeah, totally fine, got it." And then B's like, "Yep, I'll have her home before then." So they go.
Whack.
They go. And so Jan has these allergy issues, right? So she needs to take allergy pills. So like her parents will give her allergy pills. And since they trusted B and his wife so much, he would give her allergy pills, right? But it turns out they weren't actually allergy pills.
Movies. Don't laugh. Not funny.
Sorry. He would give her sleeping pills instead. So she knocked out in the car. She says she doesn't remember anything that happened. She literally just she must have like gone out really fast. So they're gone for, they don't come home that night. So Marianne and Bobby are panicking. They're like, "Where's B? Where's Jan? We don't understand. We're trying to call. No one's picking up. No one's, there's nothing there." So they call Gail over, the B's wife, and they're like, we need to call the police?" And she goes, "No, don't call the police. Like, just don't call the police." So Marianne's like, "Okay, I won't call the police. Like, you're my best friend. I just won't do it because I don't want to lose your trust." Like that kind of thing where it's like, if you, like, you're my best friend. Like, and if you said you don't want the police called, like, I won't call the police. That's what was going on in her mind, which is whack. But, so they didn't call the police. They instead Marianne waited 3 days. So she was gone on a Thursday, so she waited till Sunday.
And she rode on a horse named Friday.
No. No. And she called the FBI, but the FBI doesn't have working hours on the weekends. So it was like, if this is an emergency, like, dial this number. But Marianne hung up. Marianne was like, "This is not that big, whatever. They're probably fine. Like, I think maybe their car just broke down and they're just trying to get help." Three days after, okay. So
the horse.
So yeah, she didn't wait. She didn't go through with that. So then she calls, on a weekday when the FBI is there, because it's been a while now. And she's like, "Oh my God, like, I don't know where they are." So she calls the FBI and she's like, "Listen, my daughter and this man have been gone her and B have been gone for a kind of a long time. We don't know where they are. We can't reach them. There's nothing there." So the FBI comes immediately because, it's a missing child. It's a missing child in that view with him or wherever she is. So they're like, "Ma'am, can you please tell us what happened?" So she's explaining the story of him taking her horseback riding and not being here. And the FBI goes, "Ma'am, that's kidnapping. This is a 40-plus-year-old man with a 12-year-old girl. This is kidnapping." And Marianne's like, "No, it's not. He's a family friend. He wouldn't do that, right? He's not that kind of guy."
Right.
So, no. And they're like, "Ma'am, this is kidnapping." Like, yeah. So they go and interview the wife, and the wife goes, "Oh, we have a motorhome in this, storage unit." And they're like, "Okay, we're gonna go see if the motorhome's there." Motorhome's gone. It's gone.
What?
It's gone. So since the motorhome is gone, that can only assume that B and Jan are in the motorhome somewhere. So they call it a nationwide search, where they have every single police station in every single state on guard, seeing if they're like, "Listen, there's this guy, and they have he has this little girl named Jan, and he's in this motorhome. So if you see them, arrest him. He's not good." Even like the border of Canada and Mexico knew, right?
Oh,
so
okay.
Yeah, so that's what's happening. So that's what's happening now, but we're gonna go back a few years to when B was when he was like a kid, right? When he was 12.
Oh, well, throwback.
Yeah, no, it's not cute. It's really not cute. Yeah, you may not want to say that. So basically, his brother was on the documentary too, and he was talking about, because I'm just gonna spoil it. B dies. He dies. He's no longer alive anymore. But I will explain to you what happens.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So his brother's on there, and his brother's explaining, and he goes, "Yeah, my brother. I guess I always knew he was a little bit of a pedophile." And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, "Okay, if you knew your brother was a pedophile, like, okay, okay, great." I mean, at least he's, this is mean, but at least he's dead now, because, like, I think he would have done a lot worse if he was still.
Right.
Yeah. So his brother's on there, and he goes, when we were younger, when he was 12, we had this younger sister, and she was 6, and he had relations with the younger sister. So he's 12, and the little sister's 6.
Literally exactly what I wanted you not to say.
Yeah, sorry, this case is, like, not for the faint of heart. Just saying.
Ah.
But basically, he always knew that he had, like, a fascination with young girls, which to me is disgusting.
It's vile.
I know. So
I can't.
So what happened was he tried this same thing he did with Jan 2 times before with different girls, with different families.
Right.
But around the same age. You know what I mean? So he's still kind of disgusting. It's not like anything special about Jan or whatever, but like,
yeah.
He's just a little gross. They called him a master manipulator because he got into everyone's head and made everyone trust him and made everyone, love him. He's such a good guy. He would never do that. Like, all the neighbors loved him.
My boss.
Okay. Well, that ain't it. So basically, what started the weird crap. So Jan and her sister, one of her sisters, I think it was Karen. I want to say Karen. Her and Karen shared a room downstairs in the basement, right? So it was a huge space where they just, had their own sides, whatever. And so they were kind of getting, she's 12. I think Karen was like 10 or something. And, they were talking about, wouldn't it be so cool, like, if we had our own rooms, right? Like, if, but the house wouldn't allow that. But they were like, wouldn't it be so cool? We could have our own space, whatever. So B was a carpenter, right?
Oh, good.
So he built Jan her own room, just like a wall in the middle. And then Karen was talking, I want to say it was Karen, but if I'm wrong, like, I'm sorry. But she was saying, like, that was, like, it. Like, that's when everything started getting weird and, like, isolated because, like, now she's away from her sister. She couldn't see her sister, You now have this wall in between you and your older sister. So it's a little weird. So the families were so close that they would have sleepovers, like in the summer and the fall, whenever, because they were neighbors as well. So it was like right next door, like whatever. So, or at least in the same neighborhood. So there was this one sleepover that Jan was talking about where they went outside and they slept on the trampoline because they had this huge trampoline. They would just like lay out under the stars. It was really cute. This is the creepiest and most disgusting thing of the whole, like not even of the whole thing, but just to me, it's so vile. So basically, she was having a sleepover there. Jan and her other sisters were having a sleepover with their 5 kids, right? So there's 8 of them on the trampoline or on the ground. I don't really understand. But Jan woke up in the middle of the night and was aware that her underwear was around her ankles. It was around her ankles. No, it was around her ankles. And B was holding her.
I'm not ready. No. No, we get it. We get it.
Was holding her, and then she was like, what? And then he wakes up and tells her, oh, you were tossing and turning. Like, I came out here to check on you, and you are, like, all of you, and you were tossing and turning. You were tossing and turning. You must have done it yourself, and I'm just out here to make sure you don't fall off the trampoline. And it's so, and he's, like, insisting that she did it to herself, that, like, she did that to herself.
That ain't it.
But we can assume that.
That ain't it.
So, moving on. So, yeah.
I'm gonna give a boo to that one.
Yes. So, basically, sorry, this is, like, all jumpy because this is what happened in the Netflix documentary, so I'm trying to, like, keep it a little bit consistent, but, like, we'll get back to the whole, like, kidnapping part of this, but you need some background as well. So, Jan went on vacation with B and his family, right? Because it wasn't uncommon for them to go on vacations together. They went up to Seattle. It was going to be fun, whatever.
Seattle's a good town.
So, he was telling the family, like Marianne and Bobby, like, oh, Jan was acting really weird. And they're like, what do you mean she was acting really weird? He's like, well, like we were at dinner one night and she was really spacey. Like she kept rocking back and forth and she like wouldn't respond. So I took her back to the motel.
I don't know.
So he takes her back to the motel and she's like asleep because I think he gave her more sleeping pills. I would assume that he did because like he's just fucked up. So he brings her back to the motel and she wakes up. Jan wakes up really groggy, like really, really groggy. And she wakes up and she sees him naked.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
So that's not great at all and just disgusting. And I don't even understand why you would do that. So going back to Idaho, that's all that happened in Seattle. There was no like ending to it, but like that's what happened. And it's just kind of nasty. Really nasty. So Marianne gets a call from B, right? This is after Seattle, whatever. So she gets a call from him and he goes, hey, can you bring me lunch? I forgot to bring lunch today. And, Gail's at work. Can you just make me a sandwich and bring it down to me, please? And she's like, yeah, sure. So she sometimes does that for him. So what ended up happening is she brought him lunch and they ended up talking. And all of a sudden she's like, oh my God, he's really attractive. Keep in mind, she's been married for like 13 years, right? She's been married for over 10 years to her husband with 3 kids.
Right.
And she's like, like, there's just something about him, right? He makes me feel loved. He makes me feel special.
Whack.
So they end up kissing. Nothing more than that. Nothing more than that. Kissing, I think a little bit of touching. I don't really know.
He's not into it because she's not on the clock. It's not funny.
I'm sorry. Nothing of this is funny. I just don't know how to like express anything.
Oh my God,
I get nervous.
I started crying and I started laughing because I was just like,
I know, because I sometimes don't know what to do. So if I laugh, I promise you it's not funny. It's just I literally don't know what to do with my emotions. Okay. So yeah, and then that was her cheating on her husband. So then there was this church event, right? And I watched 2 videos. The second video, there was this girl explaining it in chronological order, but like I just can't fathom that because I already took the notes on the Netflix series, so I was like, whatever. But basically, she left this out, but I think this is really kind of important. So basically, there was this church event that she was working, and Marianne was working. And so it ended up with her and B. I don't know where they were. I don't know if it was after the event or what, but they ended up like groping each other and like making out.
As you do.
As you do at a church event.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Those Baptists.
Yeah. So after that happened, the father, Bobby, he gets a call from B, and B's like, do you want to go on a drive? I'm really frustrated at work. I'm really stressed. Like, do you want to come on a drive with me? And Bobby's like, yeah, sure. You're my friend. Let's go on a drive. So they go on a drive, and B was talking about how his wife was, like, not fulfilling his sexual needs.
Yeah. Why?
Because this is how fucked up the story is. So B's like, yeah, I don't know. Like, she's just not, she's in. And Bobby's like, oh, like, maybe we'll, and he's thinking that they're going to go to a strip club or, like, something like that. Like, as 2 40-year-old men do, right?
Right.
So B goes, do you want to help me out? And Bobby looks at him and goes, dude, you're so funny, like, haha.
Oh, wait, what?
And,
oh,
yeah, and that goes in your head.
This is actually the funniest part of the story.
No, and then B goes, no, come on, it's like what kids do.
You're 40.
It's what kids do. So Bobby goes, oh yeah, all right. So I felt so bad because he was actually crying in the documentary, so I really feel like really bad. So like I started tearing up because
why was he crying?
Because it was an act against his wife. Because he still really loved his wife.
And then he sucked off another man. He was like super gay.
Suck him off, but like
a little handy.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
That's what he did, and he started crying in the documentary because he's
Did he cry while he was doing it?
No. In the documentary, not in the past. Not in the past.
Okay.
In the documentary, he started crying, and I felt really bad because he's like, this is when I knew everything was going to go downhill. Like, this was like the tipping point, he feels like, for everything.
Oh.
Yeah, I felt really bad. I was like, ooh.
That's kind of funny.
So, sorry, this is all prefacing the kidnapping, the first kidnapping.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So basically, B told Marianne and Bobby that he goes to therapy, and his therapist, and because I'm sorry, he goes to therapy because as a child he had an abusive aunt who would like sexually assault him.
Wait, Bobby?
B.
B. Okay.
B. Bad guy. B.
Right.
Yeah. So, and part of his therapy was to spend time alone with kids and just like lay down. Just like lay down and just, be completely calm with children. Which, first of all, disgusting. You're a 40-year-old man. Like, like, literally, like, if my dad needed to do that, like, listen, no, listen, for a family thing with your own kid, and you're just sleeping, right? You're just napping on the couch, right? So like I'm asleep and he's just sitting watching TV or just sitting there going like this, like that's different than what he was doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So basically, the therapist, who wasn't even a licensed therapist to begin with,
right,
who I also think played a big part in just messing him up even more,
love that,
told him, you need to lay down my kids and just be completely serene and just have this tape recorder, like just to play back weird, oh my God, like some of the things that it was saying, I'll tell you in a second. So he asked Bobby and Marianne, hey, can I lay down by Jan? And both of them were really uncomfortable. They're both kind of like, what? Like, why? And he's like, my therapist said. First of all, I don't know why the parents.
Does a therapist exist?
The therapist does exist, but he's not licensed. So I think he also kind of pushed for this thing to happen. But basically, Marianne, I don't know why Marianne and Bobby didn't go like, what the fuck, you have 5 kids of your own. Go
freak.
Like go do that with your own kids. Like, not saying that that's even any better, but like it's a father and his own child, you know what I mean? So it's a little bit different in that sense. So they're like, I guess because it's like therapist orders, like if it's part of his treatment, we shouldn't be the ones keeping him from that. So he would have this like recorder playing things when she was sleeping, and I don't really remember what they were saying because I didn't write anything down, but like one of them was like, feel how soft she is against you with like the blanket and how warm, and I was like, this is a 12-year-old girl. Yes, it's a 12-year-old girl next to you. Like, ew, stop. This is so disgusting. I literally had to like pause it and like take a deep breath. I'm like, this is actually disgusting. There we go.
More booing.
Yeah.
That's vile.
So when she was sleeping, he would molest her when she was sleeping. Because keep in mind that he built the wall in between him and his sister. It's completely secluded down there.
Right.
He would just, do that.
Away.
So he would sleep with Jan 4 times a week.
Oh.
4 times a week he was at their house, laying next to her, being disgusting for 6 months. For 6 months.
Nasty.
For 6 months. I don't understand.
Boy.
And it was up until the day she was taken by him with the horseback riding thing.
Nasty.
Yeah. So it was October 17th, 1974, and that was day 1 of her being taken. So this is what happened in Jan's perspective. So we're now finally going back to, the horseback riding. They can't find them. Police are gone. Whatever. So she doesn't know where she is. She wakes up twice. So the first time she wakes up, she's super groggy, and all she feels is that her wrists and her ankles are being strapped down to a bed, and she can't move. So she's like, what the heck is going on? Like, she's 12 at this time. Remember, she's 12. So she's probably, either 6th or 7th grade at this point, right? Mm-hmm. To put it in perspective. And so she falls back asleep, and she wakes up a second time to not being cuffed, nothing, everything's fine. She wakes up to a monotone voice. So keep in mind of what I said about the aliens earlier, right? About how the 70s, aliens were a big thing. So she wakes up and it's like female companion. Like in a monotone, like really weird voice that she's never heard before. It's like female companion. Like, you need to save the earth. You need to save this planet. You need to save this. So she's given this alien mission, correct? And keep in mind, B planned all of this. He's the one behind all of it, but just in Jan's perspective, she's given this alien mission, right? So her alien mission is that her dad is an alien, her sisters are half aliens like her, and Jan is this special being, special gal, if you will, who needs to save this home planet and Earth, right? She's the only one who can do it. So the voice is like, I'm going to give you some instructions on what to do. And she's like, okay, like, I'm all ears. I don't want,
I
bad
think she
things to
said
happen.
word. Bet.
No!
I bet.
No. So the thing says, so at the front of this vehicle, there's your spouse. You have to marry that guy, and you have to have a baby by the age of 16. She's 12.
Oh,
So
she's got 4 years.
that ain't it. So she walks to the front of the vehicle, right? And she sees B passed out, blood on his face, on his wrists. And so she's like, wake up, like, because in her mind, this is a person she trusted. This is a, adult figure. She's alone right now and he could be dead. So she's like, wake up, wake up, wake up. Like, come on, you have to wake up. I can't be alone, whatever. So he wakes up and he goes, oh my God, Jan, I don't understand what happened. We were driving to the horseback riding thing, and this big bright light came in front of the car, and we just flipped over. We collided with something, and we got out. Like, I dragged you out, and they were aliens were there. We think it was aliens. We tried to fight them, but I guess something happened. So yeah.
This is so whack.
So they
What?
were found here, but oh my God. So they're in Mexico, right?
Oh,
So this is
they were from Idaho to Mexico?
in his friggin' motorhome. Yeah, apparently. So do I have this written down? I don't know if I have this written down. But basically what happened is why he was so bloody is because the police found his car, and the window was bashed in. So they were like, we know exactly what he did. He staged it so it looked like they were kidnapped instead of him kidnapping her. So it was a kidnapping case inside a kidnapping case.
Right.
But the police were like, okay, he totally framed this because it looked like an accident. It looked like he did it. It didn't look like someone did it from the inside. It looked like someone did it from the inside, not the outside. You know what I mean? So it looked like he did, like, with his head, because the window was all broken and he had, like, blood all over him. Like, that's why he was bloody. So they're in Mexico, correct? And so, oh my God, this is so gross. And they were in the cabinets, and there were and in the cabinets were books about sex.
Oh.
And all that.
Instead of food or.
Yeah.
Right.
As it is. So she knew they were books about sex, but the way that he conducted what he did, he
oh God, I'm not ready.
He raped her multiple times, but he didn't do it in a sense that you could tell, if that makes sense. I'll explain it afterwards. So he would only, like, I'm sorry, this is gonna get really gross and I already feel like gagging, but he would only put like an inch in at a time.
Oh God.
So he would only do it, yeah. So it was very little, but he would do it all the time. And Jan was talking about how she would just look up to the roof of the motorhome and just see leaves. And that's all she focused on. That's how she got through it. And, like, she's 12.
This was sad.
Yeah. No, she's, like, crying in the documentary. I'm like, oh my God, like, this is so messed up. I don't even know where to begin with how messed up this is.
It's foul.
So Mexican law at the time allowed 12-year-olds to get married.
Oh.
Yeah. So B calls his brother that I was talking about earlier and was like, I need you to get Marianne to approve, to give her permission to marry me. And Marianne's like, hell no. Like, what the no, absolutely not. So B's brother, I don't remember his name, but B's brother, he's like, okay, well, I want my brother to come home, and the only way for him to come home is if he's allowed to marry Jan, so I'm just going to go to the police. So he goes to the police, and the police tap his phone, so that means they can record all the calls and track him down. So B's brother's like, hey, dude, where are you? And he's, like, giving his location. He's like, I'm here with Jan, blah, blah, blah. So the police find them, right? Because he actually did something good and was like, yeah, I want my brother to come home. So, yeah, the FBI tracks him. And so the Mexican police were called. They were like, listen, you have a felon on your side of the border. Like, can you please get him? So he was detained. B was detained by the Mexican police. And this part's so fucked up. and he gave one of the Mexican guards, because they took both Jan and him.
Right.
Jan's not in a jail cell, he is. B gave the guard his gold ring in order to speak to Jan.
Oh, good.
Because they didn't want him having contact, but he's like, no, I need to talk to her, So he said to tell her family that he brought her on a vacation. Right? And he made a mistake, and something happened. And so he was visited by the aliens. I don't know how, but he was. And he says there were 4 things that I was told to tell you not to talk about at all. You're not allowed to speak of these things. First of all, you're not allowed to bring up the mission. You can't tell your family about that. Can't do it. Second of all, don't bring up that they exist. Don't bring it up. They don't exist. You can't tell anyone. Third of all, there was no relaxation pills. I gave you nothing. I gave you allergy pills. That's all I gave you. And then fourth, you are not allowed to have any contact with any other man.
Oh, right.
Including her father.
Right.
Like, okay. And so, yeah, because if she breaks any of those rules, her sisters would go blind.
Oh.
And her dad would die, and she would get vaporized.
Oh.
He literally told a 12-year-old girl, yeah, if you break any of those, you're going to get vaporized. Like
Jewel
no,
pod?
No, it's the 1970s, Ada.
I think they were jeweling then.
They were not jeweling. Okay. So her parents come, and, they're so excited to see her. Like, oh my God, like, our daughter, she's been gone for 35 days,
Oh.
Yeah, it's not been like a week. It's been like a whole month and then some. So they're there and they're like, oh my God, like, Jan, like, oh my God, are you okay? And she's crying hysterical, like she's crying because she's happy, but then she's sobbing hysterically, like, what's gonna happen to B? What's gonna happen to him? Like, you can't leave him here. He can't stay here. And they're like, Jan, we need to go. So they fly back to Idaho. So, and this broke my heart because the dad started crying again, and because Jan didn't sit by him on the flight.
No.
And it broke because she's been gone for 35 days, hasn't seen his daughter, and she refused to sit by him because of what B told him. Oh my God. Told her, sorry.
Stop.
I know. So they were smart enough to go see a doctor to go see if she was raped. This is why I told you this was important, because her hymen wasn't broken. There was no signs of rape, because he was so careful with that.
Ugh.
That sounds disgusting, but like he really was, and like there was no signs of it. Because he didn't grab her, didn't like forcefully do anything. Yeah. He just, he didn't do any of that. Ugh. So kidnapping charges are pressed against him. And, Jan is freaking out. Like, she's so detached from everything because everything that she's thinking about is just the mission. She's like, what am I going to do now? He's in jail. He's in Mexican jail. What am I going to do? So the FBI and the police tell them, cut B and his wife, that whole family, out of your life. You're not allowed to have contact with them. Well, they didn't do that.
Oh,
they didn't listen. They didn't listen.
Why are they
So on Christmas Eve, Gail came over to talk to Bobby for a very long time. And she wanted them to drop the kidnapping charges against B.
Drop them?
Drop them. So if they didn't drop the charges, Bobby was going to get exposed for the homosexual act he had with B. How the wife knew this is beyond me.
Whack.
Yeah, I really think she was in on it. Because she's not talked about a lot, but I really feel like she was in on it. She was totally in on it. And she was
like, don't call the police when...
Yeah. So they ended up dropping the cases. They were like, we didn't see this as an act of harm. Like, our daughter is fine, whatever. And everyone was pissed. Everyone's like, what the hell's wrong with you? He kidnapped your daughter. He's literally in jail still. He's in Mexican jail. Like, what the hell's wrong with you? And the judge was so mad that they had a trial anyway, right? So this was really confusing. I don't really know what happened at the trial. I want to say that he was guilty, but like he got out of jail early. I don't know. But basically he moved to Utah. B moved to Utah. And they're still in Idaho. But he comes home a lot, right? He comes home a lot. And oh my God, this is so gross. Jan was sleeping, and he would come into her room through the window And just,
No,
yeah,
I get it.
it was him. And then there was the little box again. He would implant the box in the room again, and it would play the mission again.
Oh, like the tape recorder.
Yeah, the alien mission. And it would even go so far as she would get notes from school from him that he gives to other kids to say, hey, give this to Jan.
That's so weird. That's.
Yeah. And then she would also get love letters from him. He would send her love letters, and she would write back.
Oh, right.
So it went from a love for her, this is what she said, it went from a love like a father to a love like a significant other. So Jan herself was falling in love with him.
That's
Fucked, I know. So she wanted to marry him so badly. She's like, Mom and Dad, if you won't let me marry him, I'll run away and do it myself. Like, that's not fair, whatever. And B called Marianne every single day. Every day. Just to talk with her. And then at one point, she went over there, Marianne went over there, and her and B had an affair for 8 months. They had an affair.
Hold on. Why is everyone in this family fucked up like this? Why is everyone sucking off that guy?
I don't know. So Bobby, Marianne's husband, found out and filed a divorce against Marianne. He was like, you do not care about the well-being of our children. You are literally going and making out with our daughter's kidnapper. Like, what the hell's wrong with you? Like, what are you doing? So,
insane.
And she was kicked out of the house. She was not allowed to live in the house because she was a danger to the children. Because, you know, she's with a fucking kidnapper. So she realized what happened, and she called an attorney, and she's like, I'm not signing these papers. I refuse to sign these divorce papers. I'm not divorcing my husband. And he was like, okay, well, then you have to cut the cancer out of your life. B, you have to cut him out of your life. I don't even understand why you're back with him. Stop. Out of your life. So she does. She cuts him out. And her and Bobby, Marianne and Bobby, decide that it would be best for them to parent together because they both need each other and the kids need two parents in the house. So they put that behind them and they do that. So in 1975 and 1976, for that span of time, he would try to get Jan alone. B would try to get Jan alone to have sex with him, right?
Yeah.
Because that's
How old is she at this time?
She's still 12. 12.
This is all happening in 1 year?
It's like a span of a year to like 12 or 13.
Alright.
Yeah. So B tried to brainwash Marianne into staying with him, being like, you deserve so much better, like me, Jan loves me, like whatever, and it was gross. So in 1976, he was found guilty this is the case I was talking about. He was found guilty for doing that, but it was not for kidnapping charges because they dropped those, so it was for something else, and he got 45 days in jail.
Oh, good sense.
So it was supposed to be 5 years. He was supposed to go to jail for 5 years. It got dropped to 45 days, and then it got dropped to 10 days because of good behavior.
Love that.
Yeah. So when he gets released, he opens a fun town, fun place, like kind of like I don't know, like I don't know what you would call it. Do we have anything like that?
Carnival?
Yeah, like kind of like a carnival, but it's like inside, like I don't know.
Oh, I think.
Yeah. Mm. So he opened that place, and Jan really wanted to work there, right? She's like, I have to work there. I can work there. Like, come on, please, Mom, let me go. And she's like, absolutely not. You are not allowed to work there. I don't care. You're not going. So she's like, fine, I'll go by myself. I'll do it by myself. So, oh my God, this is so messed up. So Jan ends up going to Jackson Hole. I don't remember. Is it Nevada or Utah? She ends up going to Jackson Hole, though. And because her mom put her on the plane, her mom goes, okay, puts her on a plane, sends her off. Okay.
As you do.
As you do. So she lived with him for 2 weeks there, right? So Jan was with B. They lived together for 2 weeks. And obviously there was more gross going on. So B ended up divorcing Gail, right? Ended up divorcing his own wife. And because he wanted to get married to Jan to finish the mission. I say that with air quotes, finish the mission. Yeah. So B kept harassing Marianne, like, you have to let her marry me, you have to let her marry me, let me marry her, let me marry her. So Jan ended up disappearing again in 1976, right? Yeah. There was, she woke up one night and her mom was like, hey, come talk with me. And Jan shook her head and ran back to her room. So it was the next morning, and if the kids never got up, Bobby would play the piano, right? Just to like be kind of like that annoying dad where you're like, Dad, like shut up, like come on, let me, whatever, I'm up, whatever. So Jan never came up. So they go downstairs and they see a note left on her bed. She's not there. There's a note left on her bed. Okay. There's a note on her bed, and they were reading it, and they're like, this isn't Jan's handwriting, but it does not sound like Jan. Because it's like,
Right.
I left to be with him, I left you, I didn't want, all of this. So, oh God, this is so stupid. They waited 2 weeks to call the FBI again.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
This parenting is stellar.
Mm-hmm. So, the FBI recorded every single call that Marianne and Bobby would have with B, because B was still calling them. She's like, because she called first and it was like, do you have Jan? Do you have my daughter? Do you have Jan? Is she with you? And he's like, no, I don't know where she is either. Bullshit. But he's like, I don't know where she is either. So for 3 months, everything was being recorded. So the FBI found B's motorhome in Salt Lake City, Utah. And they set up like surveillance around the area on the motorhome, and one of the agents, on the motorhome. Did I say that? Yeah. So one of the agents knocked on the door and he let them in, and they knew that he was in on it. Like they were like, there's no doubt that like if you have this weird pedophilia with this kid, this like obsession with this kid, that you're not going to know where she is. Like, come on. Like, we're not stupid. So when the agent came in, there was these poster-sized pictures of Jan. Not like of her like naked or anything, but like just big pictures of her everywhere. First of all, I don't even have that. Like, that's terrifying. Like, ew. No, disgusting. So I'm going to skip a little bit because we are running out of time a little bit, so I'm just trying to get through this case. So basically, they follow him around and they see B go to a phone booth station, right? And so they see him talking on the phone for like 10 to 12 minutes, and then they go in after him to see if there's any clues. So there was. He left the phone book open to a number. And the phone book was to an all-girls Catholic school in Pasadena, California.
Oh.
Right? So they called the number and they asked for Jan. They're like, hi, do you have a girl named Jan? Jan, I don't remember her last name, but do you have Jan?
Jan Butt Cheeks?
No.
It's her last name.
No, it's not. But the nun goes, no, we don't have her. We don't have a Jan enrolled at this school. So the FBI agent goes, this is the FBI. This is what's going on, and we need to know if you have Jan. So the nun pauses for a second, and she goes, we have Jan. We do have Jan.
What was the point of lying?
No, because this is what happened. So they were given specific instructions by B that if anyone called and asked for Jan, they would say that she's not there because he's a CIA agent, right? And there was this big Lebanon crisis going on, and that they had to go away from that. You can't tell anyone that she's there, right? It's for her own safety. So he was pretending to be her father and was like, I'll visit her on weekends, but you just can't tell anyone that she's there. I'm a CIA agent. I can have you shut down, whatever. So they were like, yeah, sure, whatever. So FBI tell them to hold her there so they can go and get her. So they arrest B, and the next day after that, they arrest him after that call. Sorry. So Jan is returned to her home, and I think this took around like 3 months. This was a 3-month thing that she was missing for the second time.
Right.
I think it was like 90 something days or almost 100 days or something. And so one night, Bobby gets a call in the middle of the night from one of his workers, and the guy on the phone screaming like, Bobby, you have to get down here. Bobby, you have to get down here. Our building's burning down. So Bobby worked as a florist, I should say. Bobby worked as a florist, so his whole business is burning down. And so he went down with his whole family. And the one thing that I actually like quoted word for word from the documentary is he put his arms around his wife and his 3 kids and said, let it burn everything. Everything I love is right here.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's cute.
Yeah. So Jan thought it was her fault because she's like, oh my God, I broke the mission. I fricked the mission up. I messed up the mission.
Wait, what? Why would you think
She thinks that because she just had contact with her dad.
Oh,
You know what I
okay.
mean? That's why she went to an all-girls school. That's why that happened. That's why this happened. So she's like, oh my God.
And she's still like 13 now?
She's like 13. So she goes away. She's like 15 at this point. She goes away to this drama camp, and there's this boy. There's this cute little boy there that she kind of is like, ooh, he's kind of cute. But she feels so guilty, right? She feels absolutely like guilt-ridden because she's like, I can't like anyone else. I'm not allowed to like other boys. I'm not allowed to do that. So she calls her mom and is like, oh my God, like, blah, blah, blah. Like, can I come home? And she's like, Jan, you're fine. Just like relax. So that happened. So when she turned 16, it was her 16th birthday, right? And this is kind of where everything starts to get a little wrapped up. You know, this is where things start to come to a close. When she was 16, she was so scared. She was like, oh my God, I'm not married. Oh my God, I don't have this baby. Like, I don't have any of this, right? So she's like, what, a sophomore or junior in high school at this point?
Yeah, that's...
She's like, oh my God, like, what am I going to do? So on her birthday, she said, I feel like everyone's celebrating but me. Everyone was celebrating but me on my own birthday. So it was a few days after, and she realized nothing's happening. Everything's fine. Her family's fine. Her sisters are fine. Whatever. So also I want to say after she was brought home for the kidnapping, the second kidnapping,
Yeah.
she was so emotionally detached that she would shut everyone out. She would just sit by herself. She wouldn't have contact with anyone. Like all of that. So going back, she turned 16 and she realized that it was all fake. So she's like, oh my God, it was all a setup.
Yeah. Imagine living that long and
I
then
know.
just realizing that.
So she tells her sister Karen and her best friend everything. And then she tells her mom everything. And she's hysterically crying. It takes her literally like 2 hours to get the whole story out when it should only take like 20 or 15 minutes. So that's how it like came out. And she was talking about in the documentary how she actually had like this love for him because he brainwashed her so deeply that like she genuinely believed that she was going to marry him and like, you know, have a family with him. Like that's how deep it went. And I didn't, okay. And so what ended up happening is that her and her mom wrote a book about what happened, about like, you know, rape in America and pedophilia and like how many women, like it was like 4 out of 10 women are like sexually assaulted at the time, whatever. And so they had a book tour because it got really, you know, popular. It got kind of popular. And B showed up to one of them.
Delightful.
Yeah. And he's like yelling and he's like, this is all fake. This is all a lie. They're lying. This is bullcrap. It's not true. So like he gets taken to court. And a stalker infringement order was placed on him for life. Usually those last only about 5 years, but it lasted him for life.
Right.
To stay away from her, to stay away from them. So he showed up to this one tour and Baca was there for security. So Baca is Bikers Against Child Abuse. So they're these tough biker guys, yeah. And they were there, and he showed up, and he ran one of them over. We don't know if like they attacked him or if he just did it on his own accord. So basically that happened, and the police were called, and they arrest him. They arrest him on the spot. They were like, yeah, absolutely not. We're going. So what was found in his car was guns, like weaponry. So no one knows what he was going to do with that. But, you know, that kind of thing happened. And so Jan was talking about it, and they were like, you know, she was talking, she goes, in the span of how long I knew him, so what, like, I want to say like 3-ish years maybe, right? Like 3-ish years, she was raped over 200 times. Love that. Not that. There was a noise.
Spooky.
Spooky. Yeah, she was raped over 200 times by him, and she started bawling her eyes out at that point. And I was like, oh my God, this is so messed up. And so basically before he could go to jail, he committed suicide to escape it. I don't remember what he did. I think he either took pills or he just, you know, he killed himself one way or another. And that was the end of it. That was the end of it. I hope that came off as, you know, somewhat cohesive, but
incredible story.
Do you have any final thoughts about that?
I gotta say, I don't know how to feel.
No, I watched it because I'm gonna expose myself. I watched a mukbang about it because this girl was like talking about it, and she was like, I watched it twice because I didn't really understand what was happening. So she watched it twice, and then she put it in chronological order for us, or for her viewers. And so she did that, and then I watched it, and I was like, oh my god, I have to watch this now. Because like they have like the actual family in there, and like the dad, the mom, the two sisters, the brother, Jan, you know. And I was like, I have to watch this. So I'm watching it, and in my head, I'm just like, this is so fucked. Like, it's so fucked. Like, I don't understand how this, and oh my god, and apparently there was 6 other girls he tried to do this to.
Oh.
6. I'm like, there's just like 7 girls he's like tormented. Like, what the hell? And like, if you were looking for an uplifting podcast, this was not the one.
This ain't it.
This ain't it. Like, holy crap.
Yeah. Also, while I was listening, I wrote out swear words in like the fuzzies of this weird CD.
She is Neopet.
What are these even called? Is there even a
CD
word?
cases?
I guess, but like, God, no one uses DVDs anymore.
CDs.
I was like 12 years old.
Maybe.
Like Jan.
You know what? That was not a good connection.
Bye-bye. Bad words. No bad words here.
No, but yeah, so if anyone out there wants to either...
Anybody out there?
If anyone has any other cases that they would like us to talk about, please do, because, like, I find this stuff kind of interesting.
Is anybody out there?
Okay.
I just needed to try the echo.
But, sorry. But if anyone has, like, any other stories they want us to talk about, this stuff is just really, like, it's interesting, but it's also really sad, and it also kind of, like, gives people, like, a platform to realize that, like, stuff like this is actually happening. And it's
also,
like,
the 70s was a wild time.
Yeah, it was.
Yikers.
Yikers, dude.
Jeepers.
Jeepers. Oh my god, Shaggy.
Oh my god, I watched Hercules for the first time the other day.
Oh my god, really? We're just changing the subject real quick.
Yeah.
We have like 8 minutes, so.
I'm good at that. But yeah, it was pretty good. It's just, I'm not a huge Disney person. I've outgrown them. Alright, I'm 17. I'm too old for that. But I needed to watch it because I've never seen it. And like, you know what? It was kind of annoying. So it was like, oh my god, I'm in love with you. And they like met twice. I was like, okay, I guess. I love Meg though. She's a great character.
She reminds me of you for some reason, and I don't know why.
Thank you. I was gonna be here for Halloween because I kind of had that reddish hair for a little bit. It would have been good, but then I ended up being Mermaid Man. What a huge hop. But yeah, it wasn't bad. My favorite Disney movie is Tangled though.
That's T. I like that movie, and I liked. Well, The Little Mermaid's always been my favorite.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a cute one.
Disney's cute, I guess.
The Incredibles is pretty good.
Oh my god, I love The Incredibles. That's like one of my favorite movies.
I was watching it last night when I was babysitting. It was great.
I was babysitting last night.
Oh my god.
I was so tired.
Jesus.
I like almost passed out on the couch. I'm like, I have to stay up. I have to stay up.
Wake up for these kids.
Oh yeah, I just want to quickly say something. You know how we talked about The Stranger in our last one?
Oh, the book, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it came out to my English teacher that I have a podcast now.
Oh!
That literally, one of the girls who's in my class just went, yeah, and she talked about The Stranger. Mia talked about The Stranger. I'm like, oh my god.
I know exactly who it is. And
he goes, oh, did you talk about how you liked it? I'm like, yeah, we kind of just like talked about how it was written, all that stuff. And in my head, I'm like, shut up, don't talk. No.
Oh my god. Alright, that's it. Podcast is over. Cancelled indefinitely.
No.
Oh my god, shut up.
Sorry, now Ada was sick the first episode. I'm gonna be sick this episode.
Hell yeah.
But we should start getting some guests on here real soon.
Oh yeah.
You know what? We need to have an astrology one where we just have a bunch of different star signs.
Oh yeah. Oh my god. That should be like our introduction. Like, this is our friend.
True.
Bitch tits, and she's a Pisces. Just kidding. We'll never have a Pisces on this show.
No, apparently Pisces and Cancers get along really well, but I've not met a nice Pisces yet. So
there are a few ones. I'll tell you after. Then a few Pisces that I know that are pretty good.
All right. Well, yeah. Apparently, because we're both really freaking emotional, that we just get along.
Oh yeah. Can't
Right.
deal with that. Too much Leo. You know.
Too much Leo.
All right. Well, I mean.
Oh, we need the music.
Oh yeah, we need the exit music.
Yeah.
Okay, this was a little actually shorter. We normally cut out 1 hour. But...
We do, but I think cutting it a little short might be good because of that heavy story. Anyway, I hope you guys didn't hate the story.
Yeah,
because
that would be bad.
It did take me like a really long time to write all the notes. Like you should see my phone. I had like all these notes going. I was prepared. Yeah, but thank you so much for listening.
If you got this far.
Hopefully.
It was a good story. It was interesting.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm nodding like they can see me.
Bye, Ulysses.
Bye.